to everyone. We certainly look forward to the day when more and more of us can be here at the J. But for now, we're going to continue doing this regularly. There's going to be an evolution with how things are going here, and we want to make sure that all of our members and our community are well aware of what's going on. Hard to believe that we opened 18 days ago. The change from open to close has been profound. For closed to open, excuse me, has been profound. We have noise in the building, and we have people in the building, and we have activity in the building. And at the same time, we have taken the approach, as I said on our last call before we opened, that we are taking a very strict read of the guidelines that have been provided to us. And we are trying to not just be open, but to stay open and to be concerned in our process and our protocol for the health and safety of all of our members and all of our staff and all of our community. So the protocols that we talked about in terms of curbside drop-off for camp and early childhood, for making reservations for tennis and swimming and fitness are all in place and are all, while brand new to us, I'm really proud of the way that our team has worked together to implement these and ensure that they are working smoothly and working on your behalf. We also have taken the approach that we wanted to be able to add things to the mix and to the constellation of activities that we are doing, rather than be in a position of taking things away because we went too far too fast. So I am pleased to tell you that next Monday, we will be opening at 5 o'clock in the morning again. And we are what that
Monday.
what that thank you. I've often said I feel like I'm a talk show host, and now I've gotten my first applause. So that's kind of nice. What that means is that we get one extra session in the fitness center. So we'll have a 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. session. We'll close down for cleaning from 6 to 6:30, and then we'll be back on ostensibly the same schedule that we have now. Additionally, that means that the pool will open at 5 a.m. also. So all of that activity will follow the same form. We are going to close, however, not at 8:30, but at 8. And there are two reasons that are driving that. One is we found that the traffic was almost nil from 8 to 8:30. And it also, more importantly, gave us the opportunity to provide a 90-minute session for working out at the end of the day. So rather than the last session only being an hour, it will be from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And people that might want to come in and be able to get a workout and a run will have a little more time at the end of the day. And then obviously we will close down. We'll do our cleaning as we're closed, and then we'll open up in the morning again. The last addition that I'm really excited to share with you is that starting not this weekend, not June 20th, but whatever 7 days from the June 27th, we're going to open on the weekend for indoor racket sports. And what that means is that by reservation, squash and racquetball and pickleball will be available on the weekends, and there'll be a schedule, and you can sign up online for those services. So those are the new things that we are adding to the mix in the coming weeks. And we will continue to look and evaluate what we're able to do and what we're able to do safely with community health in mind. I will answer a couple of questions that I know are follow-ups that we've gotten in advance about that situation. Number one, the steam room and the whirlpool and the sauna are not on our agenda to reopen at this time, and are unlikely to even be on the agenda for consideration, likely until we probably get through July. Doesn't mean we're opening in August. It just means those are areas that the CDC is strongly recommending as not the right areas to open. And the locker rooms fall into that same category. So the locker rooms, the sauna, the steam room will not be available and not even likely be part of the discussion until August, but we will evaluate other things along the way. The thing that we are likely to evaluate next is basketball, and probably after the July 4th holiday, we'll try to get our heads around what it would be like to open the gymnasium for more open recreation like basketball. I know that some people are asking questions in the chat, and I appreciate Amy and whomever else is trying to answer them. I will do my best to kind of pay attention to both. The cafe is open, so it is open for very limited hours, 4 hours a day. Right now it is primarily serving lunch to our camp and early childhood program and the staff that are here, but if people do want to come and get something from the cafe, you can call the cafe directly ahead of time or call the J and we'll connect you. Or you can certainly go before or after your workout or your swim during the hours that they're open. There is limited seating in the cafe if you want to stay and eat, but you certainly can get food to go. And we are working on a curbside menu that will come a couple of evenings a week out of the main kitchen. We're looking to make some specialty foods, some Chinese food, perhaps some Indian food, Israeli food, and so on and so forth. So watch your emails for announcements about those. I'm going to pause for a second. I know that there are some questions that have come in the chat. I want to see if anyone has some out loud questions that they want to ask right now, which you can do by raising your hand. And in the meantime, then I'll go to the questions that we've got in advance and try to ask them. It's a very quiet group.
So Todd, one of the questions that did come up was asking about the protocol for staff and employees to make sure that we're healthy returning each day.
Sure. So each and every day, all of our employees go through the exact same protocol that we ask our members to. Employees enter through the North Fitness entrance, and they get in line and they are asked the same questions and are subject to the same regulations that the members are. So if a staff member has a fever, they are sent home, and they're sent home for 3 days. Staff that get here prior to the building opening, when the North entrance protocols are open, we come in through our building services entrance, and again are subject to the same exact protocol. We are committed to keeping everyone healthy and safe, and that includes the staff as well. So the kids in camp and early childhood, we do the best that we can to maintain social distancing, or physical distancing. However, in the realm of them playing, there are times that they are a little bit closer together than what is stated as 6 feet. We are continually washing their hands, washing our hands, and doing the very best that we can. The physical environment is continually sanitized. The toys, the physical spaces are all sanitized throughout the day. And the one thing, the big seed change that we have made is that the classroom sizes are so much smaller, both in camp and early childhood. So we only have a maximum of 10 in any given group. So we are trying to minimize that physical interaction. So we
How did you do that for camp? Did you like unregister some of the camp kids, or just are they staggered schedules? How are you keeping the numbers down? I haven't figured that out.
So in some case, it is working itself out, if you will, because there are some people that were not ready to come back. So the numbers have organically worked themselves out. And we did stop taking registration once we understood during our closure at what the CDC guidelines were going to look like. We stopped taking registration and moved everyone to a waiting list. So we didn't have to unregister people. Rather, we could, again, let people in as time and space allowed for it. And thus far, it has worked out. We've also, because we don't have large communal activities, we've been able to use the large ballroom, and we've constructed 4 separate rooms inside that large space. So that allowed us to make distinct spaces for all the different groups. And moving our Taglit Adult Day program over to Or Hadash,
right.
kept that group physically distanced from the building, gave them distinct space for them to use, and freed up some additional space inside the J so we could accommodate a few more camp groups.
Cool.
Hello, Todd. I'm just following up. I participated in your last Zoom meeting and asked about pickleball outdoors, and you said a few weeks, and then I sent an email recently. We're just, all of us pickleball players are really anxious to get outside, and I don't know why we can't. Seems like tennis has been taken care of, but not pickleball.
So you are correct, and I'm really happy to share with you that we are in the very home stretch. We had to wait till all of the trucks were done bringing materials and landscaping to tennis to get all the material off of the where the pickleball courts are drawn. That process is done, and Monday we'll be taking all of the boards off of the tennis court and all the tarp that's underneath them. It will take us a number of days to get that space just cleaned up, because I can imagine that there's going to be a lot of dirt and rock that will need to be moved off. But we expect to be making an announcement about outdoor pickleball and youth tennis before the end of June.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, and I'm sorry we didn't follow up more directly on that. There is a protocol if people test positive in terms of both what we do internally and how long the individual and the group that might be associated with that individual needs to stay home. And we will, by addressing the entire group, that's the first step. The tracing process, we are continually consulting with our medical advisory committee and trying to figure out candidly the best process and the best approach to that. But the first thing that we would do is if, for instance, it was somebody in a camp group or an early childhood group, we would close the program for a day or two for us to clean thoroughly. We then, with that group and the staff associated with that group, would be quarantined for 2 weeks. And that is the process that we were recommended by the CDC. People that pay their dues annually, will they be able to expect a credit of a couple of months? We will certainly be looking at as renewals come up. We certainly were willing to put members who pay monthly on hold, and we would want to be able to extend a similar courtesy to those who are kind enough to pay up front. And I will say we offer people the opportunity to also consider, who were paying monthly, to consider donating, and many people were very, very generous. So we want to be fair to our members, and we wanted to make sure that we understood that you all, while we were closed, you all sacrificed as well. So, and we appreciate that. Anything else for the moment? If not, I'll pick one out of the hat that we have. Monica, is there anything else in there right now?
I am double checking, but I think
Right.
you.
We expect the class sizes in camp, and as we transition into J-care and in early childhood, we expect these numbers to remain at the low level for the foreseeable future. I've kind of come to myself looking at the moment that we're in right now as a transition time. This isn't the new normal. We're transitioning to something that we're not sure that we understand yet. But what we do understand is that there is not a vaccine today, and that we're going to have to be careful and safe using these same protocols for the foreseeable future. So while I don't have a crystal ball or a magic 8-ball in front of me, what I do expect is certainly through the end of this calendar year for things to look very similar to how they look today. I would expect that there will not be large public gatherings into the fall. I would expect that many of our adult education, adult enrichment classes will continue to use the online platform. We are evaluating other programs that we traditionally do as larger groups into October, November, and December to find the right platform to make that happen. And we're just going to continue to pay attention as much as we can to be able to take the best view that we can of how to keep our members, our staff, and our community safe. And we appreciate all the people that have come back who have embraced that approach. We do ask, there was a question earlier around masks. I don't know if that got answered. So that got answered in the chat.
Yes, there was a question that just came up about when we will be admitting guests and guest passes.
You know, that's a great question, and one that we'll probably take up in July. And the reason for that is we really wanted to make sure that our members could come back first. We had 35 people at a time in the fitness center. We didn't really know whether that was going to fill up with large waiting lists or not. And so we'll do some evaluation as to whether or not there is room. We certainly welcome guests as part of our general ecosystem. But we wanted to make sure that our members were accommodated. And at the moment, it seems as if they are. This is not in any way meant to be a flip answer. At the moment, what would trigger a complete closure is if we were told that we had to. We are not planning to initiate a closure on our own. Again, if there were an outbreak in several areas, we likely would close for a short time while we cleaned the facility and got ourselves ready to reopen. But a deep closure like we had before would be something that would have to be mandated for us. We tried hard to get open, and we're doing everything that we can to stay open. Okay, we're answering the questions about the 36, 24 hours. Okay. Any other questions from the room? If not, I will continue
Yeah, I have a question. Instead of calling or even reserving 3 days in advance, could one reserve for 5 days in advance? You give notice of coming 5 days at a specific time.
You know what, that's a fair question, and what I'm going to do is put that on our agenda to talk about. I don't want to answer and give an answer that we can't live by, but I think it's a fair question to look as to what is a reasonable amount of time to sign up in advance, and 5 days may be something to look at versus 3. At the moment, I don't believe there are lots of hours that are at full capacity. So we hope that we get to that point where we have 35 people at an hour regularly. But thank you for raising that, and we will certainly talk about it. Lindsay? You're on mute.
Oh, now can you
Okay.
hear? Okay.
Now I can hear you.
My mute button that this malfunctioned. Is there a way to find out what hours are less populated at the fitness center?
Yeah, I'm actually going to let Amy answer that directly.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, Lindsay. Absolutely. When you log on and click on the schedule on our website, it shows how many spots are available. So you're able to see if there's only 5 spots left, that means there's 30 people already registered. If there's, 15 spots left, you'll be able to see how many are available. So you'll be able to tell.
Thank you.
So that's a great question, Ada, about how do we cancel a reservation. So I rather than put that in the chat, Amy or Monica, if you don't mind, on my behalf answering that one, because I think that's a great thing to know so that we can make space for someone else if somebody can't come.
The other question I have for us old people who are not very computer savvy, when one goes to the J for a given period of time, prior to leaving, could one then state, I'm coming back the next day or for the next 4 or 5 days? In other words, do it right on site as opposed to having to come back home and get on the computer.
Sure.
And
I think that also goes to the 5-day, like if we extend the period of time that reservations are available, I think that would tie right into it.
Right.
So I think both those things are very good questions for us to think about how to execute. And we want to, we continue to want to provide our members with excellent service. And this sounds like an opportunity for us to look at doing it. And we may divide it and say a certain number of spots are available 5 days out and a certain 3 days out. We'll have to look at it. We'll try to be creative, and we'll certainly look for your feedback and guidance to tell us whether we've done it well or not.
Okay.
So Lisa, you can just email me directly if you'd like. I'll put my email. Actually, I'll put my email in the chat. Monica, if you can just throw my email into the chat for anyone that would like to. So we are continually in contact with our instructors and with our trainers. Many of them are still doing classes using the online platform. And our trainers, some of them are also using the online platform, and some are here training with their clients in real time. So we're trying to keep everyone informed and engaged with what is going on. Okay. So that's a good question. If there are certain time slots, I don't know. My initial reaction was I understand why that would be a great question. I think it would be tough to swallow, and that may speak to why 3 days is better than 5 days or 7 days. So someone doesn't eat more than they can, if they will, which would be my bias.
I would worry about with the setting up for 5 days. Someone's just going to go in and click every single day and then not show up a couple of times.
Right. So
really
that's you've raised a great reason why the counter argument for 3 days may be a better model. Feel free to also raise your hand and talk out loud, because is there a fee if people don't show? We have not put a no-show fee in. And I don't know whether we've had a lot of no-shows or not.
I don't think you guys are, at least in the lap pool when I've gone, it was only the first 2 days that someone was there checking names off a list. Right now, the last maybe week or even 10 days, that hasn't been happening. But there've been the right number of people there every day. It hasn't been, I mean, it's worked, but I don't know if it was a decision you made, but the first few days someone was there checking your name off, but that doesn't happen anymore.
So they still have the list, and they're starting to know who the members are. So they don't need,
Is
It's
it the
great.
lifeguards that are monitoring it, or who's monitoring it?
So we're checking during the temperature screenings as people walk in.
Oh, I see. So we're just not aware of it. Okay, because the first couple of days someone was out there with a clipboard and I was wondering why they weren't there anymore. Okay, got it.
Magic now, Judy.
What?
It's magic now.
Big Brother is watching us. Okay.
That's right.
I have a question. Does anybody know for sure whether chlorine kills this virus?
I don't think we have an affirmative on that, and I wouldn't consider myself anything of an expert to say that. The one thing that we've just been advised is that we should treat the pool in terms of cleaning and in terms of protocol the exact same as we're treating the interior spaces, which is why we have a half hour in between the two master sessions. So we're following that advice in terms of how we treat the pool, because whether chlorine deep in the water is good or not, there's still a lot of surface to cover. So we make sure that we keep the facility really clean and disinfected.
In terms of the group sports, have we discontinued those because all of the group sports would be in a confined area and you'd have too many people within that area and unable to keep the 6-foot distance apart? Or could one still have group sports, but have fewer people with, of course, the requirement that they would definitely have to be at least 6 feet apart in performing that sport?
So Archie, the group sports question is a really hard one. And
yeah.
And we know that a lot of people like to come and play basketball as a group or play volleyball. And we went on a path of looking at basketball, and do we just let people come in and one person at one basket can shoot, because people are missing just shooting baskets. And we knew that what will happen is all of a sudden the two people are going to say, let's play 1-on-1. And then the other two people they're going to play 2-on-2. And the next thing you know, it becomes a group activity. And not only are those activities close in connection, but you're bumping into people, and you're using the same ball, and you're sweating. So right now we're taking a pass on those organized group sports. And when we do it with the kids during camp, when they play games in the gym, there's a lot of protocol in place before the children go into the gym. And there's a lot of protocol, not just for the children themselves, but for the equipment that they're using. So the idea of just open recreation, as appealing as it is probably down the road. And even organized group sports is the same way. We're glad that we have that we're able to add racquetball, squash, and indoor pickleball starting next weekend, not this coming weekend. And then later on, as I said, at the end of June, we'll have outdoor pickleball. And the tennis courts are open for reservation and use as well.
I was thinking in terms of body pump. Normally there are a maximum of 14 people in the room. So if it could be cut down to 5 people or 6 people and spread out, I'm wondering if those kinds of considerations have been given.
Well, I can quickly answer that if you'd like. It's a work in progress, Archie.
Okay.
We're also having to look at what the crossing and more people up in the fitness center then it becomes. Plus, we do have quite a few instructors that are not quite ready to come back for classes. So there are some body pump classes currently going on online. And if you have things that you can substitute as a weight, you can still get that workout at home.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
If you've been, as I know many of you have, the traffic pattern, we've made like our own, where we've become civil engineers and city planners in the way in which we've designed the way that you can move through the facility. So we're really trying to avoid people crossing each other's paths. So that's why we have you coming in the north entrance and then leaving through the back of the cafe. That's why the plaza entrance at the front is really only for pickup and drop off for early childhood. And we're really avoiding as much as possible, and it's not a perfect system, people crossing each other. So the body pump and some of those classes will create a complication in that regard in the fitness center. Any other questions?
Well, I would like to commend you on doing a fine job considering what the data is and how things are progressing. And I think you're doing quite well in following guidelines.
I get to say thank you, but I really get to say that I have an amazing team of people that are doing this day in and day out. And I am grateful for them, because the heavy lift of making it work is because this community is very fortunate that the group of staff that work here at the JCC not only do a great job, but really do a caring job and take their job very seriously in terms of our responsibility for the community.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to ditto Archie. Thanks to everybody, really.
Right.
You guys have been very graceful in everything and done it really, really well. I mean, it's impressive. It's the only place I go outside of my house. Really.
That's really
You can
wonderful
visit
to hear.
me, Judy.
I feel like I'm getting better at recognizing people in masks. That's a new skill that we're
That's
we
a
can
hard
all
one.
figure
That's
out
a hard
how
one.
to recognize people by their eyes now. I didn't realize how much we saw in people's faces that for recognition. So, you know, we're all learning new things, and I'm grateful that you're all here and a part of this community.